Hello everyone, today I'm doing an Elfen cosplay tutorial on how to make the helmet and the horns. I clean film the mask first so that the newspaper that I'm sticking on top will not stick to the mask, and also it kind of gets rid of some of the contours of the mask as well, which makes it easier because you kind of want the helmet to be more flat and not have sort of a bump in the middle, but mine kind of does anyways, but it can't really be helped. I've cut up strips in different sort of lengths and widths and just covering the mask in the placements I feel like it should be. I'm using a reference picture and I'm just following that. As you can see at the bottom, it's got the longer strip, and then it's kind of hard to explain, but like the stumpy bit, which is where the mouth is. And yeah, I'm layering it quite a few times, but not too much because the mask will become too heavy. And when I secure this onto my head, I'm using bobby pins. I think I used 1 or 2, so you gotta make sure that it doesn't fall off and it's not too heavy. As you can see at the bottom, the mouth is slowly forming. What I did there was that I made the place where I was going to put the mouth a lot thinner than the rest, so that, as you can see, it creates sort of a dip, and I just continue to do that. But I thought I wouldn't show all of it because it's kind of boring me doing the same thing over and over again, but I can explain over the top so that you know. I am now doing the details of the mask using small bits of newspaper and folding them up and then placing them in the places that are on the helmet, which I'm using a reference picture so I kind of know where I should put each part. Now I'm putting on some newspaper balls onto my helmet, and then I'm putting newspaper over the top to smooth them and also make the shape more, which I use my fingers, which I find is a lot easier to get the detail, and I have a lot more control with my fingers as well. Now I'm using tissue and glue to cover the whole helmet. It just helps with some of the details. As you can see there, I am using my finger because it goes a bit more mushy than newspaper, and also it kind of sets a white base for when you paint on top of it as well, so it makes it a lot easier, and it makes it a lot harder and stronger, but it kind of makes it a lot difficult to cut, which you will see throughout the video. When I try and cut it, it's just really hard. So bear that in mind if you want to sort of change the shape of the mask. It just will be very difficult to cut, so be careful. Here is what the mask looks like with all the tissue on the top. I've now put the helmet on a mannequin head because I need to now extend the helmet backwards. I could have done this originally, but I kind of didn't think of that. But it doesn't really matter because it still works out anyways. But maybe if you're doing it yourself, maybe put it on a mannequin head first so that it's easier. But I did find that the helmet, when I stand the mannequin head up in a second, did sort of slide off, so that's why I've got a bowl underneath the chin, so just be careful with that. I'm now adding I don't even know what it is, but it's some detail on the side of the helmet. I sort of use the same technique as before, folding up small bits of newspaper and then trying to, as best as I can, make it into a circle, but it is a little bit wonky, but it's okay, doesn't really matter. And then I scrunch up some newspaper balls and put it in the middle to sort of bulk up the helmet to just make it a bit more thicker. I'm now putting newspaper on top of that, which I then mould the shape a little bit more with my fingers. I just keep layering and layering until I'm happy with the shape and whatever. I kind of also gave up putting the balls in. It kind of was just to start it off, but it's pretty fine without it. I don't even think you might have not really needed them, but hey ho. Now I'm adding another newspaper ball to the little circle and then doing the same as I did before, of just putting the newspaper over the top and then smoothing the edges. So here I'm showing me cutting the helmet. I drew out where I wanted to cut it by trying the helmet on and then just marking it out in the mirror. It's very difficult to cut, as I mentioned before, so I didn't film all of it because it was just quite painful to watch and even do. So yeah. Here I'm just showing what I cut off and the shape. I made the mouth a little bit bigger by just pulling the layers off, like the newspaper layers off at the top of the mouth, and I also pulled the balls off as you saw, and then I am going to replace them on in a different position. So yeah, I'm kind of doing the same as before now, layering the newspaper to make it sort of a new shape, because I obviously modelled it on the mannequin and the mask, and then when I put it on myself I realised that's not what I want it to look like. I'm now smoothing down the edges by just placing newspaper around the edge. As you can see here, I'm showing how smooth the edges are, and also I've covered it all in tissue. And finally onto the painting. I have mixed white and black acrylic paint, and I'm just painting most of it until I get to the mouth, which I will use the same colour, but I'm just mixing a little bit more white in just because it's a light grey colour on the mouth, as you can see. I have now mixed even more white paint in with the grey so I can do the highlights on the helmet, which I basically put on every place that I want to bring forward more, such as the little ball bits and the little circle thing on the side. I wish I knew what they were. I don't really know what they are. I think the ball bits might be screws, but I'm not sure what the circle bit is. Now we are moving on to doing the horns, which is quite hard to show you because they're so small and it's quite fiddly, but I tried my best to show you, and I'll obviously try my best to sort of instruct you how I did it. So I purchased these cat ears and I put cling film on them and I'm layering them. I'm only using them as a base, and then I end up taking the horns off and then sort of making them a little bit bigger and wider. And also it helps to mold the shape a little bit, because when I try and mold the shape, it the cat ears underneath sort of block where I want to push the horns. So here, as best as I can to show you, I am trying to make the front part of the ear the more thicker part, and then the back of the ear is the more thinner part, if that makes sense at all. As you can see, I'm just building up the layers around sort of what I did with the mouth, making sure there's a little bit of a dip, which I keep sort of carving out with my fingers. And yeah, I just continue to do that the whole time. I am now covering the horns with the tissue and glue, just the same as I did with the helmet. I'm using the paintbrush this time to actually get the details, because it's much more harsh and also a bit more refined than the helmet. I am now covering the whole of the horns in white acrylic paint. For the inner part of the horns, I'm just using a light grey, and then I'm doing a darker grey more right around the edge, and I also dilute the paint quite a bit so that I can just smudge it out and like blend it out, because it's not all that dark all the way through the inside of the horn. So yeah. So we're coming towards the end of the video now. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you maybe learnt something. I'm not an expert, but I just hope it helped you in any way, or maybe just enjoyed watching me make things. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!